When you hear the word scary, you bet anyone can mention at least 3 scary movies ever released. From Poltergeist to The Haunting of Hill House or It. But I promise you, none of these places will give you the creeps more than these 3 real-life places we're about to feature in the top 10 scariest places in the world. Number 10. Mummy Museum. I've pictured myself going to any other place, but never in my wildest dreams have I dreamt of visiting this unique mummy museum. Trust me, this isn't a place for the weak-hearted. In this go-to destination, you'll experience the thrilling effects of coming up close to retrieved mummy remains, some of which are not so appealing to the eye, but it's such a nice way to embrace the beauty of history. Yikes! After facing these bone skeletons, I don't think you'll be getting much sleep for the next couple of days. Number 9. Yorktown Memorial Hospital. Is it creepy how nuns, who are thought to carry light and hope, are associated with some very strange things? Good example is the scary leftovers of Yorktown Memorial Hospital, which came about after a road was built to connect 2 towns in Texas. The Felician sisters were the founders of the hospital, which was a rehabilitation center for drug addicts. Before long, the hospital had garnered a bad reputation, with people claiming that many of the patients who walked in never left the place except in body bags. It was believed that the forms of treatment practiced in the hospital were unorthodox and cruel. In 1980, the hospital was shut down due to overwhelming paranormal activities within the hospital. That hasn't stopped to date. Many visitors claim hearing wailing noises and spotting ghost patients roaming the abandoned building. One guard even claimed to have one time been slapped by a ghost while on duty. Not only that, but there's said to be a whole room filled with talking dolls whose eyes turn red and black when you go in. Number 8. Victor's Black Swan Inn. The Victor's Black Swan Inn is nothing short of spectacular, with all the green leaves and trees. It is also an embeddable view of Salado Creek in San Antonio and the perfect structure to hold a very dreamy wedding for a smitten couple. If you pick this as your wedding location, I urge you to be wary of the haunting history that weighs on the inn. Since it was constructed in 1867, it has been a hub for ill fate. The land where the inn was built was once the home to many Native Americans. They met their end by the swords of merciless American soldiers, who let their bodies rot into the ground beneath, making it a mass graveyard for unsettled Native Americans. Because of how they lost their lives, they roamed around the area for a long time, chanting and trying to find a way to avenge. This only caused the residents of the inn to become settled with the ghostly figures that they saw lurking in the night. Later, the owners passed away consecutively, leaving the property to a close family member. Consequently, the remaining lot experienced loss either by passion or by themselves, or even stranger circumstances led to their demise. All that loss has led to a lot of unsettled souls roaming and playing tricks on the guests who dared visit. Those who stayed, despite the ghost sighting, packed up early the next morning after threatening sounds forced them to get out. Number 7. Southtown Commons. From a church to a theater, later a restaurant, then an event center, nothing seems to make the ghost of the Southtown Commons flee. On looking at the structure, everything seems rather right and dandy. The furniture and equipment used are as new as can be following its use. There are some unexplained things or spirits that lurk in the dark. For whatever reason, they don't want to be investigated or found. The only way we were able to know that the Southtown Center was haunted for sure was because of a paranormal investigation done on the building. Upon looking at the findings, the group realized that someone had been watching them set up. A woman's voice is heard from the audio recording requesting to be heard. Since there weren't any apparent incidents that occurred in the Southtown Commons, it leaves us wondering what secrets its history holds to have such scary things happen now. Number 6. Spanish Governor's Castle. The Spanish governor's castle is at the top of the list of the most haunted places in San Antonio, and that's just why it couldn't miss on our scary list today. Structurally, the Spanish governor's castle is just that, a castle meant for kings or delegates, even though neither of the two ever occupied the residence. More importantly, it's the home of several ghosts, including a very happy little girl who isn't shy to giggle. It's the perfect spooky destination if you aren't scared to wet your pants when the door behind you suddenly closes. Number 5. Ghost Hotel in Malaysia. Malaysia seems like the perfect vacation destination, and how about a duplex apartment to rest in after a day of touring? Just make sure you don't pick the Amber Court Apartments by mistake, or else you'll be stuck for weeks in the scariest apartment you could think of. Abandoned cars are lying in mold in the hotel parking lot. The paint on the building is old, and some windows look cracked. You'll notice that it isn't as packed as you'd expect it to be. Actually, you might find that the very tall building has less than 20 occupants at a time. Many can brave the situation and go out for an adventure during the day, but nobody would dare step foot outside at night, no matter what the emergency. This is because the whole hotel is pretty scary to walk around at night, since you could bump into a ghost taking a night stroll. Like any haunted hotel, incidences were occurring in some rooms. One being that they had to call a Chinese priest to perform a ritual that would lock up a spirit in a room, because it caused so much havoc that no one was booking that room in the hotel anymore. Since then, management has taken up some renovation activities to revamp the place. Who's daring to stay the night in that creepy hotel, no matter how fancy the rooms look? Number 4. Tunnel 33 Shimla. Under the hills of India lies a tunnel filled with more than spectacular architectural designs. Tunnel 33 of Shimla carries the memory of the great engineer who made the whole project a success. He not only did it in name, but also in spirit. I mean that quite literally, as the engineer's ghost is said to haunt the tunnel since his unfortunate demise. This has been brought about by the strains of work when the foreman accused him of dragging along the project for his gains. Frustrated that he'd been pushing himself and his employees to the limit and still being unappreciated, he made the awful decision to take his own life. Now, every once in a while, people spot the engineer roaming around the area close to the tunnel, as if he had some unfinished business there. Number 3. Villisca Axe Murder House. Most gruesome incidences almost always carry along the speculation of ghosts, especially if no justice was served for the victims. The Villisca Axe House is one of those examples. After an awful night intruder caused the demise of 9 people with an axe picked from the residence. Even though investigations carried on for months, authorities were left with some more questions than answers. As speculated, people expected the souls of the victims to hover around until they found justice. Rumors have spread of paranormal activities in the house, but none has been proven to be factual. Even so, the thought of sleeping in a house where 9 people were robbed of their lives is scary enough to keep me far away. Number 2. Dumas Beach. As majestic as Mother Nature is, so is she deadly, which is a fact of Dumas Beach, believed to call out to people so it could end their lives. These claims were made by several people who visited the beach. Looking into the matter, it was discovered that the beach was once a burial ground for Hindus. The souls of the ones who perished were the ones calling out to the people to come to the beach. Also, you can tell that the sand from this beach is peculiar, as it has a black color rather than the normal brown or white color. In addition, there have been a lot of cases of missing people disappearing on this beach. That said, it's better to keep off this beach. Number 1. Eastern State Penitentiary, Philadelphia. Over 100 years ago, the justice system wasn't what we know today, as men, women, and children were once locked up together in the same cells. The authorities in those days wouldn't care less what happened to criminals, and thus made very little effort to keep the place well kept. It was unsanitary, and the inmates often attacked each other and sometimes took each other's lives. It was a fracas of a place, and those who ended up losing their lives wouldn't rest until they had a turn at their oppressors. That's why there are numerous ghosts unafraid to cause bodily harm to anyone who tries to investigate the institution. Until next time, adios.